you know, I saw this mother. She's one of the mothers of the children who were at Uvalde during this shooting. And when I saw this video of her account of what happened, I'm shocked. I mean, this is unbelievable. The police handcuffed her. So there's a shooting happening inside the school, and the police handcuff the mother of one of some children in the school, right? I think she had 2 children in the school. And then she went in to rescue her own children. Like, just watch the video. I'm stunned. I'm speechless.
U.S. Marshals started coming toward my car, saying that I wasn't allowed to be parked there. And he said, well, we're going to have to arrest you because you're being very uncooperative. I said, well, you're going to have to arrest me because I'm going in there, and I'm telling you right now, I don't see none of y'all in there. Y'all are standing with snipers, and y'all are far away. If y'all don't go in there, I'm going in there. He immediately put me in cuffs. As soon as they uncuffed me, I jumped that first gate fence. And once I jumped it, I went to my son's class, and I knocked on the door, and I remember the teacher saying, I'm like, hey, they're already bulge cutting the fence to get me. She's like, you think we have time to get out? I said, y'all have time. I'm going to run for my other son. So I start yelling, and I'm being uncooperative, and I'm like, well, y'all aren't doing what are y'all doing? Y'all ain't doing y'all need to be in here. Give me your vest. Somebody give me a vest, something. I started paying attention to how far the shots were being, so that I knew the shooter was all the way still by my first son's class. So when I went to my second son's door, the teacher didn't want to open the door for me. So that's when they started escorting me out. And as I see that they're opening my son's door, I go run for my son, and I get him.
Here, I'll play the rest of it. She's not done. Just seriously, listen to this.
While you were inside the school, did you see officers
there was
inside
not one
the school?
Officer inside the school when I ran to my second son's class. There was not one officer.
And you were hearing gunshots, so you knew that
you could hear the
it was an
gunshots.
active shooter.
It was still active. The gunshots were still active. They were not in there. There was no one in there. If anything, when I pulled up, my car was closer to the school than where the snipers and everybody that was laying on the ground were.
When you heard that it took law enforcement 75 minutes before they went in and stopped the shooter, what was your thinking, having been inside the school yourself?
I don't know. I was just thinking that they could have saved many more lives. They could have gone into that classroom, and maybe 2 or 3 would have been gone, but they could have saved the whole class. They could have done something. Gone through the window, sniped them through the window. I mean, something, but nothing was being done. If anything, they were being more aggressive on us parents that were willing to go in there. And like I told one of the officers, I don't need you to protect me. Get away from me. I don't need your protection. If anything, I need you to go in there with me to go protect my kids. And if anything, they were being more aggressive on us. They were more pertained on keeping us back than getting into that school.
And here's the last part.
And she also told me that, you know, she's on probation for some charges from about a decade ago, and that she received a call from someone in law enforcement telling her that if she keeps talking to media, or if she, you know, keeps sharing her story, that she might face some kind of violation for obstruction of justice. So she was holding back from sharing her story until now because a judge told her that she was brave.
What the hell is that? Did I misunderstand this? Or is that outrageous? So let me get this straight. This mother is in front of the school. The police, instead of going in to stop the shooter and save her children and other children, they handcuff her. And then they uncuff her, and she has to run in the school to save her own kids. And sees no one inside. I mean, in terms of cops. And then on top of it, on top of all that, they try to threaten her from telling the media. Wow. Where do we begin with this one? There's so much wrong with this. I'm not really sure what to say. At the same time, there was this article in the New York Times about how incompetent the police were at this shooting in Uvalde. And, well, I don't know if you can say incompetent, because people are disputing that. They're saying, were the cops incompetent? Or did they purposely not go in? I don't know. They're investigating this, and the headline says, aware of injuries inside, Uvalde police waited to confront gunmen. So, heavily armed officers delayed confronting a gunman in Uvalde, Texas for more than 1 hour, even though supervisors at the scene had been told that some trapped with him in 2 elementary school classrooms needed medical attention. So this is from video footage and investigative materials that they've seen, and also a document with a transcript from the camera footage. So the police, they sometimes have these like body cams in some places, and it records audio as well. And so the New York Times reviewed the audio from these body cams as well. And the point is, they're saying that the police at the scene knew that there were people alive in the classrooms, right? And they still didn't go in because they wanted to get more armor for the police, okay? So basically, they say it up here, right? Instead, the police waited for protective equipment to lower the risk to law enforcement officers. And the school district police chief, who was leading the response, he was heard on the audio. He said on the audio that people are going to ask why we're taking so long, right? So he was apparently very aware of that. It says, quote, people are going to ask why we're taking so long, okay? And that they believe that it's the same guy, Arredondo. So he's the guy leading the response. And you had 60 police officers that were assembled in front of the school before they actually went in, right? So basically, you have 33 children that died, and more than a dozen of them and 3 teachers were still alive during the entire 1 hour and 17 minutes. So the question is now, well, you have 60, not 1, not 2, 60 police before they go in, and during this entire period, 1 hour and 17 minutes, they know that there are people inside, not just children, but teachers as well, who are not dead, who need medical attention, some of them, right? And they still did not go in. So the question is now, well, why didn't they go in? They were waiting for protective equipment. I don't know what that is besides shields. That's the only thing that they mention in here, okay? So investigators are working to determine whether any of those who died could have been saved if they had received medical attention sooner. But there's no question that some of the victims were still alive and in desperate need of medical attention. This is a fact. 1 teacher died in an ambulance. 3 children died at nearby hospitals. So, again, I don't think you have to be a doctor to know that in an emergency situation, every second counts. Not every minute, not even every minute, every second, right? If someone's in shock, if someone has heavy blood loss, if someone is having, any sort of severe critical medical emergency, every second counts. The family of this kid, Xavier Lopez, who's 10, his family say he was shot in the back and he lost a lot of blood while he was waiting for medical attention. Quote, he could have been saved, his grandfather said. The police did not go in for more than an hour. He bled out. So the police chief, is heard saying, can be heard saying, we think there are some injuries in there. And so you know what we did, we cleared off the rest of the building so we wouldn't have any more, besides what's already in there, obviously. And then the New York Times say it was not clear from the transcript whom he was speaking to. When I read this transcript, and the police chief saying that, it seems to me that he knows that people are going to get mad because they did not go in sooner, and he's trying to explain it in advance. That's what it looks like to me. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, though. But that's just what I gather from it. You have 2 officers that initially approached the door. They were shot at and grazed. Okay? And that's when the chief, the police chief, Arredondo, quickly decided not to breach the classroom without shields and other protection. Okay? Because he didn't want to have other officers killed. So he focused instead on getting other children out of the school while waiting for additional protection and equipment. That's the rationale, right? honestly, I don't know what to make of this. You know, some people are going to say, well, of course, you know, they don't want to get people killed, the officers killed, so they have to wait for that equipment. And you should blame whoever took too long to get the equipment, or you know, that should have been organized better. And at the same time, you're going to have people who say, well, they're cowards, right? Or they're incompetent, or they shouldn't be working this job, because the whole point is that you're supposed to put yourself on the line. Even if there's a danger, you have to take the risk because you're a policeman to save the people that are being killed, that are being whatever, they're being attacked, or they're in danger of some sort. Honestly, there's a third option too. You could say that even if these guys were trained in the situation, when you have the adrenaline, you might make the wrong call, you might make the wrong decision. I just want to add one thing to this, because this specific place, this specific school, they had training to deal with situations like this. So I'm struggling. I don't understand how they didn't do what their training said, right? It's not like, oh, this is a random cop they pulled off the street and he has no experience with this. No, they trained for this situation, for shooting, and they didn't follow their training. So I guess you could say at best, you could argue they're incompetent, right? That there's no malicious intent or selfish intent. They're just incompetent. They shouldn't have gotten this job. They shouldn't have been working in police, and they're incompetent. I think that's the best argument you could make. Not the best argument, but the best that you could possibly say about them. A lot of people are not saying that at all, and you know, can I just say something? 60 fucking people. I mean, you see it over here. It says, by the time everybody had been killed, right, and they breached the classroom, 60 officers had assembled on the scene. 60 officers. What were you doing? You're assembling a fucking platoon? Like, 60 officers. What the fuck are they doing? I mean, look, man, I want to be clear. I'm not saying this job is easy. I'm not saying that they're, you know, they all should have bursted in like Rambo or something. But I don't understand this. Like, that's the best they could do? There's something wrong here. There's something really wrong. There's something really wrong. I don't understand this. And, you know, I know this is not an exact comparison. I know it's not an exact comparison. But I couldn't help but think of how Americans, you know, they would go to Iraq and Afghanistan and just, you know, fucking kick down the door and go in and, you know, get the men on the floor and you know, round everybody up and treat the people like shit. And they had, you know, they had a complete spine, all those big balls, right, to raid fucking home after home after home and break in and act like Rambo. And then when it comes to that, there's 60 of them and not one of them goes in, right? They got all the balls to do this shit, right? Raiding people's houses like this at gunpoint, right? They go, no problem going into other people's houses, right? And treating them like shit. They got no problem doing this, right? Kicking down other people's doors. Boom. No problem. That's fine. Oh, they can do that like that, right? With 3 guys. I couldn't help but make the comparison. I'm sorry, because what the mental image that I have of, you know, U.S. forces kicking down doors is this, and many people across the world as well. And so when you hear that they suddenly have a problem going into a classroom to save their own children of their own community, I don't know. It feels weird to me, right? It doesn't compute. They're very good at doing these things, right? Anyway, it's not lost on me that the investigation is still ongoing. The investigation meaning what the Department of Justice are doing trying to find out. Here, Texas State Police. So both Texas State Police and the U.S. Department of Justice have launched investigations to find out what the hell happened with the police, why they didn't go into the classroom. So we'll see what happens. And what makes it even weirder is that they keep changing the testimonies and the statements, rather. Okay, so in the article they say details of what took place inside the school have been slow to emerge, and aspects of the early accounts delivered by Governor Greg Abbott and top state officials, including Mr. McCraw, who is the director of state police, have had to be amended or completely retracted. The official narrative has shifted from a story of swift response by local police to one of hesitation and delay that deviated from 2 decades of training that instructs officers to quickly confront a gunman to save lives, even at a risk to their own.